The most powerful force in all the world is the human mind, the human imagination. For all things that we behold that has been created by man or woman, well, it first started off in the mind of that creator. Rather it's an object, our phones, our cameras, our TVs, our houses, our cities, whatever it is, it all started off in somebody's mind. Even works of art, such as a painting, or a writing, or anything that has been contrived by the hands of an individual, that started off in that person's mind. They had to first imagine it before it was ever able to take form in the physical reality all around us. And so when you purchase a painting that somebody painted for the first time, that is not the original painting. You'll never have access to the original painting because the original painting exists in the mind of the creator. And that's something to think about. It's absolutely incredible.
And don't forget to dream wonderful things to add to life.
The only thing that we ever experience in the world around us is merely the consequences of our own thinking, our own imagining. We're always projecting our own original imaginings, our own scenarios, our own images, ideas, beliefs, or what have you. We're projecting these things onto the screen of space all around us, and we move through these things, these images, these scenarios that we project. We move through them and they become our experiences, our physical, tangible, real world, solidified, externalized experiences. Those of you who have been watching me for some time know that I'm always saying that our mental and imaginal activity doesn't recede into the past, but rather it proceeds into the future to confront us in the form of situations and circumstances, you see. All we ever experience is our own reflections, and in accordance pursuant to universal law, it is outside of us as it is inside of us, and it is inside of us just as it is outside of us. They go hand in hand. They correspond to each other. That's an absolute universal existential law. And the wonderful things about universal laws is that we can take advantage of those laws to make our lives, our reflections, whatever it is we desire for them to be. If there is something out there that we don't really prefer, we can always imagine in response to that. We can imagine what we do prefer and persist in the imagining. And in so doing, our imagining becomes the outer world. The outer world morphs into our persistent imagining, our persistent thinking. And so that brings to us the responsibility that we must be absolutely aware, absolutely observant, self-observant of what's happening in our minds on a moment-to-moment basis. This takes an enormous amount of, well, concentration, if you will, or observation of you, which is essentially a form of mindfulness. You want to become mindful of how you are within yourself at all times. If you had the power to keep yourself absolutely wonderful within yourself, if you had the power to be in a favorable state of being, a favorable, wonderful, pleasant state of consciousness all the time, if you had that power to make that happen within yourself, would you do that? Yes or no? I think you would. Now check this. The whole existence, the whole universe, it's all mental. Every single thing is an expression of mind. For example, you take any physical object, anything that you can hold in your hands, and you zoom in on it close enough with the appropriate microscope, you will notice that that object is vibrating. There are a bunch of subatomic particles making up the structure of this object, and when you zoom further into those subatomic particles, all you find is empty space. That is the subtlest expression of mind. It's pure energy. It's pure substance. And this substance is always taking the shape or the form of, well, what we picture in our minds. And so we are determining the structure of the universe by way of what we imagine in our own minds. And we all exist here collectively. And so everything that we are imagining, we're projecting, and those who are apart from us, or those who seem to be apart from us, can witness what we are projecting, just as well as we can witness what they are projecting. We're all creators, and we're all projecting things, images, scenarios, situations onto this space. And that makes everything all the more exciting, because really and truly, that other person who is projecting things onto space, they are a part of us, and vice versa. We are a part of them. And so, in many ways, by having this experience where we're able to be here and co-create with each other, that's giving us the opportunity to learn all about ourselves from multiple different points of view, because nobody's going to be externalizing, nobody's going to be projecting exactly the same things onto the screen of space. And that's absolutely phenomenal. That's absolutely amazing, because it keeps our experience of being here all the more interesting, because we're able to experience a tremendous level of variety. If it was all the same, then hey, it may be incredibly boring. And so we have to appreciate what other people are projecting and externalizing onto the screen of space, just as well as we have to appreciate our own ability to externalize whatever we prefer to experience onto the screen of space. Because guess what? Chances are there are some people, and perhaps there are many people in this world, that are externalizing things onto the screen of space that are contrary to what you would prefer to see externalized onto the screen of space. And guess what? We have to be cool with that. We have to stay in our own lane. And the thing about that, being in our own lane, is that we are in full control. We are in full dominion. We govern our own lane. And that's why we thrive best when we remain in our own lane, whilst at the same time allowing others to remain in their lane and not infringe. The problem comes into play when we attempt to infringe on what other people are doing in their co-creative process, and vice versa, when they attempt to infringe on what we or what you are doing with your co-creative process. It's perfectly alright. And guess what? In a future episode of this series, we're going to talk about the idea of parallel realities, infinite timelines. Because really and truly, I know I'm saying because a lot, because all my thoughts are flowing to me and so things keep coming up for me to say. So I'm like, wow, I said because so many times. But getting back to the video. Now, get this. Every person, every individual in our world is distinct in the sense that every individual is their own vibrational frequency. Or in other words, every individual has a core aspect of their individualized makeup that is its own signature core vibrational frequency. And the thing about frequencies is that every frequency in and of itself is its own reality. And that means that every person in this world, every individual that we behold, is in fact their own reality. And so what that means is that we have multiple different realities, just as many realities as there are people, all sharing the same space called Earth. Every frequency is its own reality. And so that's why we have to be respectful of what other people are externalizing onto the space, because it's not just our space. It's not just my space. You know what I'm saying? It's not just your space. And we're all free in the sense that nobody can stop us as individuals. Nobody can stop me from externalizing onto the space that which I desire to externalize onto the space. And neither should I stop anyone else from externalizing their own preferences onto the space. Now, the thing is, we have a lot of unconscious creators. There are many people in our world who are unaware that they're actually projecting and externalizing their own stuff onto the space. Neither do they have any idea that everybody else in their life, and even those who they don't know, are externalizing their own stuff onto the space. People don't know that. And so most people walk the earth, they walk the world confused. They think it's all happening by chance. Nevertheless, may I tell you that there is no chance. There is no coincidences. There are no natural causes. There are only spiritual causes. There are only imaginal causes. There are only mental causes. And so those of us who realize this, who awaken to this idea, well, we are extremely, unfathomably fortunate. And that's so much reason to wake up and be grateful that we can actually decide what is going to be externalized onto the space, onto the planet, as far as we are concerned. What? Especially if you're grown and you're watching me, if you're a quote-unquote adult. I say quote-unquote adult because the word adult means adulterated, to make less pure, to taint, to distort, to mess up, which is why I don't really prefer the word adult. I refer to us as grown-ups. If you're grown and you're watching this, you actually have the option to get out there into the world and make it happen for yourself. If you're a child and you're watching this and you feel as if you're not really free to externalize that which you prefer to externalize, maybe because you have a perception that there's other people in your environment that's controlling you, well, you could actually utilize your mind to free yourself from that, or at least change the nature of your relationship to those things and vice versa, which we will talk about later when I get into the idea that everybody in our world is simply ourselves projected, ourselves externalized. If others are a part of you, then there is a part of you within yourself that can determine the nature of the other person outside of you as far as you are concerned. And that's rather advanced to get into at this point. However, what I really want to illustrate is that thoughts become things. What you think about is always being externalized. What you imagine and get emotionally involved with as you imagine it, it's always being externalized. And so when things happen in your life, you have to realize that you are the cause. There is only one cause, and that's I am. That's you. You are the cause. It's just that when something happened, you may not remember having triggered it. However, you are the only cause. And I don't say that to put blame on you. I don't say that to say that it's your fault whatever happens in your life. That's absolutely absurd in the mundane sense of what I'm saying here. I'm only saying what I'm saying so that you can empower yourself to take charge, take control, if you will, over your life. Because you're never really out of control, nor do you have to seize control over your life or over things. All you really have to do is surrender to the control that's already built into you by way of the structure and the arrangement of your mind. What are you doing with yourself psychologically on a moment-to-moment basis? That's determining your future. Because if your thoughts and your imaginings are not receding into the past, if they're really proceeding into the future, then that means that you can predict your own future by analyzing and being aware of what it is that you are doing or what you have been doing with yourself psychologically over the past few days, past few weeks, past few months to know what's going to be happening with you in the next few days, next few weeks, next few months. That's absolutely incredible. It's crazy, right? It's mind blowing. But hey, there it is. Imagining creates reality. So I am never, ever, ever attempting to change the world. I'm not out here trying to change other people. I can, however, demonstrate an example of my own particular vibrational frequency, my own particular timeline, my own particular reality or way of being. I can express that as an example to myself, but also to others to give them the opportunity to witness what I am, who I am, what I'm externalizing, and if they like it, if they find it something wonderful for them, then they can then choose to take on some of that and add that to their frequency. And that's really how it works. That's how you influence people. You don't go and try to make them change. You simply be yourself, and just by being a natural expression of yourself and thinking and imagining in harmony with who and what you are at your core, now you can really be yourself. You can be a authentic expression of you, and that's the greatest gift that you can ever give anybody, regardless of what they're externalizing onto the screen of space. Rather it's contrary to what you're externalizing or in harmony with what you are externalizing, the best thing that you can do for others, for the world, is to be you and externalize what you prefer, whilst allowing others to externalize what they prefer to externalize. And we can all learn from each other. We can all inspire each other. We can all trigger mutation and evolution within each other by seeing what we're doing in relation to the other and allowing the other to see, well, what they're doing in relation to what we're doing. And you know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing. It's absolutely incredible. And that's just how it works. We don't just live on one planet. We live in a space, a multi-dimensional quantum space that we're calling Earth. And upon this space, upon this Earth, resides or exists billions of people with their own vibrational frequency. And each one of those vibrational frequencies are absolutely unique. And the constituents of each vibrational frequency must be externalized onto the space. And we have to be cool with that. We have to be cool with that. It's alright. So long as every individual is operating as an authentic, natural expression of themselves, they can never externalize something that's conflictual with what you're externalizing. And vice versa. If you're allowing yourself to be a natural expression of yourself, pure and authentic, then you will not be able to externalize something that conflicts with what somebody else is externalizing. It's all a matter of, again, staying in your own lane and allowing other people to stay in their lane. The interstate has multiple different lanes, and you don't see those lanes fighting over which cars should be where. Instead, each and every car that drives on these different lanes gets to choose for themselves, by way of the driver, of course, which lane they're going to be on. But you don't see the lanes fighting about, I'm going to have that car, or no, you have that car, I want that car, or no. It's up to you. It's up to you. There are infinite number of lanes on this space. Choose your lane, or shall I say, stay in your lane and make your lane representative of what you desire for it to be, because you can, and there's nobody stopping you. We're all like puzzle pieces, and the world is the completed puzzle. We all fit in perfectly in our own spots, if you will. And so, again, never feel threatened by what other people are manifesting. Just concern yourself with your own psychology and what you are or will be manifesting. That is your divine right. You are a spiritual being existing here in this material, physical, tangible space to project your heart's, your spirit's, your soul's desire. And that's really what it's all about. This has been episode 1 in the series, The Fundamentals of Metaphysics and Spirituality. Well, leave a like on this video if you haven't already and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.